What's happening, ladies and gentlemen? This is the Edge of Greatness, episode 453. This is a hyperflow space. This is me, Edge. Welcome, listeners on the podcast that is listening right now. Shout out to you guys for showing support to the space. I was about to say, no, it's a podcast. If you're listening on Spotify or on YouTube, shout out to you. You will be hearing this in the future. And I will be talking in the past, which is now. But yeah, that's weird. I gotta train a little bit more on my intro to the podcast because this episode is most definitely gonna be a podcast episode. I've decided, but only if you guys can like hear me in the listeners. I don't know yet. I might be talking to myself right now. I have no idea if anyone can hear me now. And continuing this space without anyone hearing me would be useless. So if you guys wanted to like throw 100 or something, and then I can like see. Okay, thumbs up. Okay, cool. Uh, now I know I'm audible. Let's go. Let's begin with a little excerpt from the Book of Five Rings, and that might just get the conversation started. So, with myself, shout out to brother Doc and Matt for pulling up to the space on X. Absolute G's. Mm, let's get going. The Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi, and we're gonna read a little excerpt from that one, just where we left off the last time. Noting the tempo. It's called neither song nor dance can be performed without knowing the tempo. There must also be a sense of tempo in martial arts. To see with certainty how an adversary's sword is working, how he is handling it, and to discern what is in his mind must be the same state of mind as that of one who has mastered the tempos of song and dance. When you know your opponent's moves and manners well, you can make your own maneuvers freely. Techniques 1. Number 1. Accompanying a blow of the sword. Number 2. 3 inches on either side opposing or supporting. Number 3. Technique number 3. I guess sneaking in quickly. Number 4. Focusing the eyes on the elbows in the upper position. 5. Circling swords, keeping an eye on both right and left. 6. Reckoning the 3-foot margin. The above 6 items are learned by working with a teacher and must be taught by word of mouth. They are not completely revealed in writing. When you use such techniques to launch various preliminary blows and project appearances with covert intentions, and yet your adversary remains unruffled and refuses to make a move, remaining secure in a passive waiting mode, when you then sneak into the range of the sword, slipping right up to your adversary, he can no longer hold back and shifts into the aggressive mode. Then you induce the adversary to take the initiative, whereupon you let him hit out at you and thus strike him down. Yeah. So you're basically trying to make the adversary make the move first, because then you see exactly what's happening and is more vulnerable. In any case, not in all cases though, not in every situation. This is like from situation for situation. You gotta like read it in the moment. But yeah, I guess this is what reading does. It adds information to the context to the situation. In any case, if the opponent does not lash out, you cannot win. Even if an opponent lashes out at you, if you have properly learned to gouge the margin of safety where you're out of reach, you will not get struck all of a sudden. Having practiced this step thoroughly, you can fearlessly slip right up to an adversary, get him to lash out, and then turn the tables on him to win. This is the sense of being a step ahead of the one who takes the initiative. Techniques 2. Number 1, the major opus, including the initial assault. This must be transmitted by word of mouth. Number 2, sustained attention, used in both aggressive and passive modes. This must be transmitted by word of mouth. Number 3, the 1 cubit margin of a small sword. Number 4, the existence of both aggressive and passive modes when attacking should be understood as the body being in the aggressive mode while the sword is passive. That's an interesting one. Uh, aggressive and passive modes when attacking should be understood as the body being in the. Yeah, they talk a lot about the what's that called again? The synergy or the trinity, like the entire mind working together. They're talking a lot about, like, not directly in this book, but that's what they point towards. And when the mind works well, it has to work well together with the body, like, too. But that's kind of what the brain is doing um, when it's operating out of a functional state. That would be a developed right brain half, left brain half, subconscious mind. All of those three are well developed, then the body shall follow what you learn. Everything, every single thing you say, when you understand that all that you say in the manifestation process is, or can be, unfaltering. It can be full of integrity. It can be non-leaking. And there is individuals like that as well. And those people usually feel the loneliest when they are in the room with a lot of people, because there is really no one there that, like, understands them, because they are the one that thinks this is the 1%, and it all connects. It's all the same. Every single thing I talk about always boils down to, like, what the 1% does, because that's what I'm interested in. I wanna do what the herd does not do. So I'm gonna learn every single thing in the opposite direction. And it's not that difficult. We use polarity to do this, and that's what makes us be able to perceive things in the first place. So it all connects. All of the information everywhere connects. If you want to, if you wanted to not connect, you can do that too. But it really does connect, and it's weird. It's a feeling. Whatever. Let's drop a comment in the purple pill down below. Smash a like on the space, retweet it, and let's get this thing out there into the algorithm. And for the podcast listeners, I don't know which buttons you have, but I'm sure there's a like button somewhere. Smash a like on that one. And let's continue reading a little bit more. My own thoughts are starting to go very much around in circles right now. I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to be able to talk for a while. So, yeah. Each of the above items is learned by working with a teacher and must be passed on by word of mouth. It is impossible to express them well in writing. That's a very good point that Miyamoto Musashi makes throughout this reading, that some things can't be expressed in writing. What that also means is that, whenever you write something, you have an intention and a thought behind that writing. And it could look in any way. Perhaps you were stressed when you wrote it down. Doesn't matter. And then someone else reads it and they're like interpreting it completely differently than you do. No matter how you would have written it down, they would have interpreted it completely different because they're wired differently. No one sees things the way you do. So when he, like, writes things, and I noticed this is a common theme uh, in older books. They haven't, like, came to the conclusion uh, of how the mind, like, works today. I think that's kind of new. I mean, the old information gets clearer and clearer, and we're able to make new interpretations of it. It makes sense, but the information is still ancient. Um, but it's like new iterations of it that makes us being able to interpret it in new ways. So yeah, it is impossible to express them well in writing. Yeah, so like he's like making an excuse for himself there. I feel like it's hard to express this in writing, but I understand that it's a practical thing. So martial arts is what we're reading about, but also positioning of the mind. But when it's explaining the physical things with the sword and stuff, that can also be applied to the mind. But if we're interpreting it from a physical realm perspective, like sword fight or something, then it has to be done to like be learned properly. I think that's what he's trying to convey. But you always strike first with your mind. Always. Like that's number one. There's a one, two. You strike first with your mind. You see what's happening. Perhaps it's not a very good turnout for that. You can see in your brain, then you don't do the action. Perhaps there will be something else in your surroundings that will trigger the very thing that will make the thing you want come to you. And let's say you wait a day or two, then someone else will trigger that thing and the thing will come to you effortlessly. So if you can see things like this strategically, as unlocking seeing with the mind, which requires the three brain parts to work together, which is not developed in school, then yeah, self-development has to be embraced, fully embraced, and self-studies is absolutely required. That's the only thing an individual has to do: train the physical, mental, and spiritual part every single day, a little bit, slightly, a little bit. That's like the goal of the entire day. And then you have to go to work and these things, but plan these things in, bro. Like, especially in the morning, you have 30 minutes. You can make 30 minutes. No, I can't. Yes, you can. I can. And I'm the busiest man in the world, I was about to say. um, yeah, and I'm sure you are too. So there's always a way. There's always a way because energy is dynamic. It isn't linear. It's cyclical. So you plan for the cycles, and then the cycles come back. You have already planned them. You just do the things. Duh. But yeah, um, what are we doing now? This sounds like a good piece. Yeah, now we're done with the physical stuff. Let's continue reading this. Perhaps it's some mental things. Hearing the sound of wind and water. This science is, in any case, all about how to win by getting your opponent to take the initiative, using tactical ploys as your basis, launching various preliminary blows, and shifting strategically. Before facing off, you should consider your adversary to be in the aggressive mode and should not be inattentive. Mental preparation is essential. If you do not think of your adversary as in the aggressive mode, the techniques you've been learning all along will be of no avail once you're attacked with great vehemence the very instant the duel starts. Once you have faced off, it is essential to put your mind, body, and feet in the aggressive mode while putting your hands in the waiting mode. You should be sure to pay attention to what is there. This is what is meant by the saying, take what is there in hand. If you do not observe the outmost, if you do not observe with the utmost calm, the sword techniques you've learned will not be useful. As for the matter of hearing the sound of wind and water, this means being calm and quiet above while keeping an aggressive mood underneath. Wind has no sound, it produces sound when it hits things. Thus, wind is silent when it blows up above. When it makes contact with things like trees and bamboo below, the sound it produces is noisy and frantic. Water also has no sound when it is falling from above. It makes a frantic sound down below when it comes down and hits things. Using these images as illustrations, the point is to be calm and quiet above while sustaining an aggressive mood underneath. These are images of being extremely serene, unruffled, and calm on the surface, while inwardly being aggressively watchful. It is bad when the body, hands, and feet are hurried. The aggressive and passive modes should be paired, one inward and one outward. It is bad to settle into just one mode. It is imperative to reflect on the sense of yin and yang alternating. Movement is yang, stillness is yin. Yin and yang interchange, inside and outside. When yang moves inwardly, outwardly, be still in the yin mode. When you're inwardly yin, movement appears outwardly. Yeah, that's business, guys. That's the explanation of business. Switch here, switch there, in and out. Reciprocity, talk to each other, exchange values. It's all the same. Business isn't starting an e-commerce store. Yes, it is, but you are it first. It's a way of thinking. Uh, that's a great misconception in hell today. Today I was about to say everything speeds up too, so everything gets more fucked every day that goes. But that's fine too. Like it's beautiful to watch and study how things turn out. I think the more aware, or hyper aware you are of like your niche and your situation in like a real and authentic way of things that actually matter, um, and that is it's not noise, which requires to have like a very well developed filtration system in the brain to be able to separate the truth from the falsehood today because everything is noise. Like that's really how I think is the healthiest way to think about it. Every single thing you see is someone that wants your attention, and attention is we're kind of deceived seeing things in human form because attention is really tying together existence from what I understand. Um, so it's like the flesh doesn't really matter. It's just yeah vessels and things that holds these spirits that is getting expressed here and there. And there's different spirits. I prefer the still one. I prefer the very still one. That uh, in the Bible it's called the Holy Spirit, I think, which is like you can invite it, just like a vampire. You invite him into your house, right? You have to invite a vampire. The same way you invite a vampire, you have to invite the Holy Spirit in a certain way, which I really can't explain by words. I think I found it, and it comes sometimes, but the journey never ends to like find new information and new understandings and epiphanies. So life continues. Yay! Nay! Yay! All right, where were we? Yin and Yang. We read about. Mm, okay, let's continue where we left off. In this kind of martial art as well, inwardly you activate your mental energy, constantly attentive, while outwardly you remain unruffled and calm. This is yang moving within, while yin is quiet without. This is in accord with the pattern of nature. Yeah, so business is nature. Business is another word for nature. People think they're special when they do business. Everyone does. Unaware or aware. The only difference is awareness. Uh, Furthermore, when outwardly intensely aggressive, If you're calm within while aggressive without, so that your inner mind is not captured by the outside, then you will not be outwardly wild. If you move both inwardly and outwardly at once, you become wild. The aggressive and passive modes, movement and stillness, should be made to alternate inside and outside, keeping the inner mind attentive, like a duck swimming on the water, calm above while paddling below. When this practice builds up, the inner mind and the outside both melt so that inside and outside become one without the slightest obstruction. To reach this state is the supreme attainment. What do they mean? Um, the inner, outside, the inside and the outside become one. Yeah, just keep balancing until things manifests by itself, like through you. You're a singularity point, creating things forward at all times, and all of the parts are contributing to your ability to create without leaking too much. We're talking integrity. Um, Mentally, like the electricity like leaks, it takes the path of least resistance. We know that. So it even travels in the brain. Like we are AI, I swear. Like we're something. AI is just a word too, a fancy thing that. But yeah, we're talking about it, and it's like it's some external physical thing that is being plugged into everything. But really, it's just being made aware. It has always been there. Everything has always been there. We know that too. We don't know anything, but yeah, here I am talking anyways. This is the Edge of Greatness podcast episode number 4. Let's go. The third one is out, bro. The third episode is out. It's been up top. If you're interested in listening to a podcast while you're driving or something, I always turn my moments of silence into uh, time, learning time. So driving home from work or driving around in the car at work, delivering pizzas, always listening to something informative. Um, in the background. It's usually that or sounds of nature or high frequency sounds. Yeah, that's what I listen to. I don't listen to other stuff really. I can't. Sometimes I introduce this space with songs that keeps people here, but I don't like it like personally. It has a rhythm to it, obviously, and I really like the instrumental parts of songs sometimes. Um, there's this there's this Spider-Man album that is like an animated version of Spider-Man, and the soundtracks of that series, they have like as instrumental as well. So there's no like voice to it. That is something that I enjoy very much. It's like very high frequency, like a quick beat. It's a rhythmic beat, like modern. So if I'm listening to modern things, it's usually that. I really don't want useless words in my ears. I think that's what being a truth seeker is partly about, um, which is good because you're a protector of the truth. Like you gotta keep it pure. That's a big responsibility, and gladly enough, we have people of resonance even in that field too. So shout out to all of you guys for pulling up to this space today. We need Doc, Stu, Blockchainy, Bloodshot, Matt, and Giuliano, absolute legends. Appreciate you guys very much. And let's continue on with this reading once again, because there is some more things to cover. There's something called sickness here. I wanna see how they define it. It is sickness to be obsessed with winning, he says. It is sickness to be obsessed with using martial arts. And it is sickness to be obsessed with putting forth all one has learned. It is sickness to be obsessed with offense, and it is also sickness to be obsessed with defense. It is also sickness to be obsessed with getting rid of sickness. To fix the mind obsessively on anything is considered sickness. Since all of these various sicknesses are in the mind, the thing is to tune the mind by getting rid of such afflictions. Yo, detachment they're talking about is important. Attachment is what creates our ego image of ourselves. So that's what they mean with the sickness. And no flow can happen there. Like, yeah, you're supposed to be still, I think. I mean, some scriptures say you're supposed to be still and it feels better. So are we chilling? Well, no, we're listening to the higher. And we're letting the higher do the moves and not us. We are the ego. Higher is like what comes in when you allow it to come in, just like the vampire. You let the vampire into the house. You let the Holy Spirit into your presence. It's dwelling with you. It's literally there. You can feel it. So either when you've let it in, you gotta like either let it make the moves, you drop your attachment to who you are completely, or you keep suffering. I don't know. I'm gonna choose the first one. I really don't want to suffer. It sucks, but uh, unnecessarily, obviously. And when we have to suffer, then we grow. So then we embrace it, and then it doesn't even hurt in that way because we know it's for a purpose. It serves something. Yeah, the sense of elementary and advanced levels of removal of sickness. The elementary level of removing sickness is when you get into thought to be free from thought and get into attachment to be free from attachment. Let me read that again. The elementary level of removing sickness is when you get into thought to be free from thought and get into attachment to be free from attachment. They're getting into the surrendering part now of this process, I think. And I wanted to say something more about that. So, removing sickness when you get into thought, you free from thought. So, there is different techniques to do this, to detach portals into the now. Some might call it. Shout out to Eckhart Tolle. Um, you can like you can ask the question. So I wonder what my next thought will be. And you imagine a mouse hole. Yeah, you heard it right. A mouse hole in the wall where mouse go in and hide. It's a white wall and it's a black hole. And then mice run in there to hide. Like that's where they hide. That's their pathway of running. Their energy moves in that way. And outside of that hole is a hungry cat. Haven't eaten for days. And it's ready with his paw to catch the next mouse coming out of the hole in the wall. So you imagine that in your mind and you ask the question, I wonder what my next thought will be. And the thought is the mouse coming out of the wall. But you're waiting for the mouse to come out when you ask that question. And you will most probably find that the mouse will never come out of the hole in the wall. Because when you're trying to force out a thought, it won't come. It will be completely still. That's the goal. Don't try. Don't be like, oh, it doesn't work. Like, I'm not getting any thoughts. That's the point. Yeah. So that's good. That's a very good thing to practice. I think I usually do that. Uh, it works for me. Might work for you. I don't know. The meaning of this is that the wish to get rid of sickness is thought. To wish to get rid of the sicknesses in your mind is to be in the midst of thought. Yeah. Also, even though we use the term sickness, this means obsessive thought. To think of getting rid of sickness is also thought. Therefore, you use thought to get rid of thought. When you get rid of thoughts, you're free from thought. So, this is called getting into thought to be free from thought. When you take thought to get rid of the sickness that remains in thought, after that, the thought of removal and the thoughts to be removed both disappear. This is what is known as using a wedge to extract a wedge. I didn't understand that really, but the way I would explain it is there is a difference between thoughts and thinking, and this I found in another reading. You can imagine thoughts as being the train of thoughts flowing through your mind right at this second. It flows freely. It hasn't stopped. It's a train and it's moving very fast. You know, you allow the thoughts to come and go, and you never attach to any one of them. That's a train of thoughts. But let's say you are attaching yourself to one of them, you're starting to observe one of the thoughts that come into your mind. You're like obsessing over it, thinking over it. That means that the train of thoughts has stopped. So now you switch from letting the thoughts flow, and now you switch to thinking. Thoughts is one thing, thinking is the next thing we're explaining now. So we're going into the wagon of the train that has just stopped. And you're exploring that thought from the inside. You think it's cozy in there, so you stay there. That's you now. And if someone tries to take it away from you, you aggressively punch them in the face. That's attachment. To be free again, you gotta let this train of thought move. And how do you make this train of thought move? How do you stop your suffering in that moment? The solution to that is to simply, the answer is always awareness, right? So remember the difference between thoughts and thinking that I've just described. Thoughts, the train of thoughts move freely. Thinking, the train stops and you are stuck in one of the thoughts. And then life can't flow because energy must flow to do its best work. I mean, energy is supposed to flow. That's how we gain more energy for ourselves, for example. Uh, Creativity is energy in motion. You just act with mm, you act on those inspirational thoughts with inspired action. Yeah, you just do things. Never forcing, but it feels good. So you feel if it's good in like the chest or the solar plexus and in the heart, like intuitively, holistically. Not not by the mind. You're not this thing. You're not that thing. So much suffering comes with the mind, but that's what training the mind does. It helps us to be able to detach and attach when necessary. So that's what meditation helps with partly as well. I've studied this topic too much. Mm, attaches is about if you use that attachment to get rid of sickness, the attachment will not remain. So this is called getting into attachment, free attachment. Um, okay. When you cannot get a wedge out, if you drive another one in so as to ease the tightness, the first wedge comes out. Once the stuck wedge comes out, the wedge driven in afterwards does not remain. When sickness is gone, the thought of getting rid of sickness no longer remains. So this is called getting into thought to be free from thought. To think of getting rid of sickness is to be attached to sickness. Let me read that once more and think of the medical industry and how it's built up. Think to think of getting rid of sickness. I'm gonna call the hospital now because I'm sick and I gotta go in and have some pills. Is the same as being attached to sickness. Focusing on sickness, focusing on anything in nature builds out more. of that thing. So hospitals brings more sickness to the world. That's how it works. I'm sorry. I have to break it to you. But that's what I'm here to do. So now I did it. Let's go. The attachment will not remain. So this is called getting into attachment, to be free from attachment. In the advanced level, getting rid of sickness means having no thought whatsoever of getting rid of sickness. To think of riddance is itself sickness. To let sickness be while living in the midst of sickness is to be rid of sickness. Yeah, exactly. So don't even think about it. Let it be. Go fully into it. Like you want that chocolate bar so much. Deep dive into it. The lesson comes with doing it, and then you will feel so bad. So you might not do it for a very long time again. But if you feel like being lazy, be lazy as much as you can. And that's when it will turn around. Not trying to not be lazy. And I have a trouble with that sometimes. I'm afraid of being lazy. I really don't want to be lazy. Thinking of getting rid of sickness happens because sickness is still in the mind. Therefore, sickness does not leave at all. And whatever you do and think is done with attachment, so there can be no higher value in it. How is this to be understood? The two levels, elementary and advanced, have been set up for this function. You cultivate the state of mind of the elementary level, and when this cultivation builds up, attachment leaves on its own without your intending to get rid of it. Sickness means attachment. Attachment is despised in Buddhism. Mendicants who are free from attachment can mix in with the ordinary world without being affected or influenced. Whatever they do is done freely and independently, stopping where it naturally should. Masters of the arts cannot be called adepts as long as they have not left behind attachment to their various skills. Dust and dirt adhere to an unpolished gem, but a perfectly polished gem will not be dirtied even if it falls into mud. Polishing the gem of your mind by spiritual cultivation so that it is impervious to stain, leaving sickness alone and giving up concern, do as you will. The normal mind. A monk asked an ancient worthy, "What is the way?" He replied, "The normal mind is the way." The story contains a principle that applies to all the arts. Asked what the way is, the ancient worthy replied that the normal mind is the way. This is truly the ultimate. This is the state where the sicknesses of mind are all gone and one has become normal in mind, free from sickness even when in the midst of the sickness. They're talking about heaven on earth now, uh, which can be read about in what the hell is that book called again? The Four Agreements. It's all the same. They're explaining the same thing. Uh, to apply this to worldly matters, suppose you're shooting with a bow and you think you're shooting while you're shooting, then the aim of your bow will be inconsistent and unsteady. When you wield a sword, if you're conscious of wielding a sword, your offense will be unstable. When you're writing, If you're conscious of writing, your pen will be unsteady. Even when you play the harp, if you're conscious of playing, the tune will be off. When an archer forgets consciousness of shooting and shoots in a normal frame of mind, as if unoccupied, the bow will be steady. When using a sword or riding a horse as well, you do not wield a sword or ride a horse. You do not write. You do not play music. When you do everything in the normal state of mind, as it is, when totally unoccupied, then everything goes smoothly and easily. Whatever you do as your way, if you're obsessed with it, or think that this alone is of importance to you, then it is not the way. What do you mean? Whatever you do as your way, if you're obsessed with it or think that this alone is of importance to you, then it is not the way. Yeah, that's the ego. That's the ego. It is when you have nothing in your chest that you are on the way. Whatever you do, if you do it with nothing in your chest, it works out easily. This is like the way of this is like the way everything reflects clearly in a mirror precisely because of the formless clarity of the mirror's reflectiveness. The heart of those on the way is like a mirror, empty and clear, being mindless and yet not failing to accomplish anything. This is the normal mind, someone who does everything with this normal mind is called an adept. Yeah. So the ones that do start to think for themselves usually call themselves crazy, or other people call them crazy. But the fact is that the one that is calling them crazy, they are the crazy ones because they are sick. Whatever you do, if you keep the idea of doing it before you and do it with single minded concentration, you will be uncoordinated. You will do it well once, and then when you think that is fine, you will do it badly. Or you may do it well twice, then do it badly again. If you're glad you did it well twice and badly only once, then you will do it badly again. There is no consistency at all because of doing it with a thought of doing it well. When the effects of exercise build up unawares and practice accumulates, thoughts of wishing to quickly develop skill disappear quietly. And whatever you do, you spontaneously become free from conscious thoughts. At this time, you do not even know yourself. When your body, feet, and hands act without your doing anything in your mind, you make no misses 10 times out of 10. Even then, if it gets on your mind, you will miss. When you're not consciously mindful, you will succeed every time. Not being consciously mindful does not, however, mean total mindlessness. It just means a normal mind. Yeah, bro. Like a wooden man facing flowers and birds. This is a saying of Layman Pang. Like a wooden man facing flowers and birds. Although his eyes are on the flowers and birds, his mind does not stir at the flowers and birds. Because a wooden man has no mind. It is not moved. This is perfectly logical. But how does a person with a mind become like a wooden man? The wooden man is a metaphor, an illustration. As a human being with a mind, One cannot be exactly like a wooden mannequin. As a human being, one cannot be like bamboo and wood. Even though you do see flowers, you do not see them by reproducing the consciousness of seeing the flowers. The point of the saying is just to see innocently with a normal mind. When you shoot, you do not shoot by reproducing the consciousness of shooting. In other words, you shoot with a normal mind. The normal mind is called unminding. If you change the normal mind and instead reproduce another consciousness, your form will also change. So you will stir both internally and externally. If you do everything with a stirring mind, nothing will be as it should. Even if it is only a matter of speaking a word, people will praise it if and only if your manner of saying it is unstirring and unshakable. What they call the unstirring mind of the Buddhas seems truly sublime. Yeah, exactly. That's the importance of living up to what you already know and know yourself well, which brings what's that word? Confidence. That's the word, which is good, but with an open mind, still humble. Balance, right? Balance is what makes the master. The free mind. Master Zhongfeng said, embody the free minded mind. There are elementary and advanced levels of applying this saying. When you let the mind go, it stops where it has gone. Therefore, the first level of practice is to get it to come back each time so that the mind does not stay anywhere. When you strike a blow of the sword and your mind lingers where you struck, this teaching as you get it to return to you. At the advanced level, the message is to let your mind be free to go wherever it will. You release your mind after having made it such that it will not stop and linger anywhere, even if it is set free. To embody the free minded mind means that as long as you use the mind that releases the mind to rob the mind and keep dragging it back, you are not free and independent. The mind that does not stop and linger anywhere, even when it is set free, is called the free minded mind. You have no idea, guys, how hard it is to read this when being reminded all the time of not having your mind get stuck. Like that's what it does. The more you focus on something, the more sickness uh, comes, you know. So reading about it is actually very difficult. I'm really, 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 really trying to not get stuck. And that's what you shouldn't do. You should just not think about it, but you get reminded all the time. So it's difficult. You can feel the resistance, even though it's going fluidly, like you can feel the resistance in the brain. To embody the free-minded mind means that as long as you use the mind that releases the mind to rope the mind and keep dragging it back, you're not free and independent. The mind that does not stop and linger anywhere, even when it is set free, is called the free-minded mind. It worked well the second time. And now the third time will be shit, just like they wrote. When you embody this free-minded mind, you can act independently. You're not independent as long as you're holding on to a halter. Even dogs and cats should be raised unleashed. Cats and dogs cannot be raised properly if they're tied up all the time. People who read Confucian books dwell on the word seriousness as if it were the ultimate, spending their whole lives on seriousness, thus making their minds like leashed cats. In Buddhism as well, seriousness does in fact exist. Scripture speaks of being single minded and undistracted. This would correspond to seriousness. It means to place the mind on one thing and not scatter it elsewhere. There are, of course, passages that say, we seriously declare of the Buddha and we speak of single mindedly and seriously paying respects when we face a Buddha image in what we call reverent obeisance. 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 These usages all have meanings congruous with that of seriousness. However, these are, in any case, expedient means for quelling distraction of mind. A well governed mind does not use expedients to pacify it. When we chant, Great Sage, Immovable One, with our posture correct and our hands joined in a gesture of reverence, in our minds we visualize the image of the Immovable One. At this time, our three modes of action, physical, verbal, and mental, are equal, and we are single minded and undistracted. This is called equality of the three mysteries. In other words, this has the same import as seriousness. Seriousness corresponds to a quality of the basic mind, yet it is a state of mind that lasts only so long as it is practiced. When we let go of our reverential gesture and stop chanting Buddha names, the image of Buddha in our minds also disappears. What then remains is the former distracted mind. This is not a thoroughly pacified mind. People who have successfully managed to pacify their minds once do not purify their physical, verbal, and mental actions. They are unstained even as they mingle with the dust of the world. Even if they are active all day, they are unmoved, just as the moon reflected in the water does not move even though thousands and tens of thousands of waves roll one after another. This is the state of people who have consummated Buddhism. I have recorded it here under the instruction of a teacher of that doctrine, doctrine or doctrine. Yeah, something like that. They say consummated. What does that word mean again? That's an interesting one. That's a very good word. Consummate. Make better, I suppose. Consummate. Perfect. Consummate. Mold. Yeah, in that direction. Make better. Consummate. I gotta look that word up. Let's do it. That's a very good word. Yeah, that was great. I don't know. This has been the Edge of Greatness, episode 453, but podcast episode number 4. So shout out to me for hosting an entire podcast for myself with all of you amazing guys in the audience. Appreciate you, brothers Stu, Whiskey, Blockchain, and Giuliano for sticking with me until the end of today. This has been the Edge of Greatness. And we're gonna end it off right there. We've been going through a lot of things that has to do with the mind today, and that's what this podcast and space on X is all about. To embrace our journey on self actualization and improvement effortlessly with understanding of why it is important to do so. Because the question really is, how do I become the individual that thinks and moves and actually enjoys those things that makes us become better humans? How do I enjoy pushing myself to the absolute limit of something? Well, you understand why. The why power is stronger than anything else. So knowledge comes from that. And when the mind is understood correctly, you will also see that action inevitably follows. But the disconnect is there. So most people, 99%, will say something but do the complete opposite because that's how school has wired them. And school also teaches that you can't work together. That's cheating when you work together in school. And also that it's a wrongdoing to fail. You shouldn't fail. You also learn in school. And people leave school with that understanding and never go back to their own self studies ever again. So they remain dumb all of their lives. This is just a way of explaining energies. And unless these people are exposed in environments to information like this, they will stay the same, you know, because they don't know anything else. And that's fine too. We're talking about it in this way. It's supposed to sound like a bad thing because when these things are talked about, it sounds like a bad thing, but that's actually the good thing. It's supposed to be this way. We're just explaining everything. I wonder if there is a good way of explaining this. I don't know. I don't think anything is good or just bad. I think it's both. It's a balance because that's how we perceive things. So we're supposed to just talk about things and observe it without judging it, just letting God flow by itself. Appreciate you guys so much for pulling up today. I wish you guys a fantastic rest of your day or night. And I will catch you guys next time, which is tomorrow. Remember, do not be fooled. God cannot be mocked. That which a man sows, so shall he inevitably also reap. Walk with truth, walk with power, and I'll see you guys at the absolute freaking top of the mountain. This has been the Edge of Greatness. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.